Seen any good weepies at the cinema lately? Classic Movies by JUDY Dungeey. All This and Heaven Too, 1940, and Intermezzo, 1939.
Time to take a quick look at the chick flicks of a bygone era, or weepies as they were known to our great-grandmothers. The weepies for this month's column are All This and Heaven Too, starring Bette Davis, and Intermezzo, in which Ingrid Bergman made her US film debut. On the surface, both films share the same basic forbidden love triangle, where a young servant is brought into the domestic orbit of an upper-class family and innocently disrupts the entire household. The Bette Davis vehicle is set in the 1840s and based on a novel by Rachel Field of a true story that actually brought down the French government of its day. Intermezzo, on the other hand, is a remake of a contemporary Swedish film written for the screen by Gustav Molander and Gösta Stevens in 1936. The English adaptation premiered 3 years later. Interestingly, both versions of Intermezzo starred Ingrid Bergman. In All This and Heaven Too, Davis plays Henrietta de Luze de Porte, a young governess hired into an aristocratic family to care for 4 adorable children. The mother of the children, Duchess de Praslin, played by Barbara O'Neill, is neurotic, cold, and seemingly uncaring of the children, except when she perceives her rights as a mother are being usurped. The Duke de Praslin, Charles Boyer, long-suffering husband and father, is loving and very caring to the children, but long since resigned to life with a depressed and paranoid wife. It's very likely the poor woman was suffering from chronic postpartum depression, but who would think of that in 1844? In comparison, Intermezzo introduces Anita Hoffman, a young Ingrid Bergman, into the household of a world-famous concert violinist, Holger Brandt, played by Leslie Howard. She is to teach piano to his daughter, Anne-Marie, played by Anne Todd, who also plays one of the children in All This and Heaven Too. Holger has been spending long months away from his family each year on concert tours. His marriage is seemingly happy, although he does long for the time when love was new and exciting, and fears those feelings are lost forever, and a staid, predictable married life is all that is left for them. Ready prey for a midlife crisis. What follows in both films is a gradually blooming love affair, as the protagonists develop a desire for each other through their shared love of, in Davis's case, the children, and in Bergman's film, through their shared passion for music. First, love grows and is admitted by each person, then acknowledged by each couple, and finally recognized by the wronged wife. In both cases, the burgeoning love is repressed and both couples refuse to act on their feelings, at least at first. Both young women use the same justification. We cannot find happiness through the unhappiness of someone else. And here is where the differences begin to show. In 1845, Henrietta and the Duke bravely decide not to follow up on their feelings and to keep things on a strictly professional level. However, in 1939, although Anita runs away from the situation, Holger instead breaks with his wife, chases after his new love. She joins him as a pianist on his tour, and they spend an idyllic year travelling throughout Europe while his wife begins divorce proceedings. In 1845, although the Duchess separates the stifled lovers by sending Henrietta away with the children, the Duke decides to visit them, and they spend a happy, innocent day together. Unfortunately, they are discovered by the Duchess and her father, and Henrietta is dismissed. Both these films begin with the same scenario, but have entirely different endings. One ends in blood, death, scandal, and disgrace, while the other ends in noble gestures and inevitable compromise, a seemingly happy ending that leaves no one satisfied. Intermezzo was Ingrid Bergman's introduction to America. It is said that, while watching the early rushes of the film, producer David Selznick exclaimed, "She looks so beautiful in the Swedish version, why does she look so ugly in this one?" When the response came that she wore no makeup in the Swedish version, but now Hollywood has caked her in cosmetics, he immediately ordered that all her close-ups be reshot with no makeup, and it worked. America fell in love with her. Bette Davis was at the height of her powers in that period, but she was reputed to be difficult. She fought with the director Anatole Litvak on the Heaven film, claiming that his style was heavy-handed and leaned towards melodrama. Most of the melodrama came from the rather overplayed neuroticism of the Duchess. Barbara O'Neill's hysterical acting was in a stark contrast with her film of the previous year, when she played Scarlett O'Hara's mother in Gone with the Wind. Nevertheless, she received an Oscar nomination for her part in Heaven. It is very interesting that the two films with essentially the same plotline could end in such different ways. Both reflect the mores of their times and make us wonder about the attitudes and convictions of today. The depiction of the wronged wife is entirely dissimilar in each film, while the heroines are alike in their innocence and awareness of the feelings of others. However, the portrayal of the wife in each case goes to excuse and explain the behaviour of the husbands, because of course the man cannot ever be the bad guy. It must either be an evil homewrecker or a crazy wife that is to blame. Check other weepies: Jane Eyre, Double Indemnity, Backstreet, or the more recent, although not exactly chick flicks, Fatal Attraction, or even Disclosure, 1994. And especially check out the latest TV movie of the week, where there's always a scheming person introduced into a family who plans to take over. Why can't it ever be that everyone does the best they can with what they have and leave it at that? All This in Heaven too starred Bette Davis, Charles Boyer, Barbara O'Neill, Virginia Weidler, Richard Nichols, June Lockhart and Anne E. Todd. The director was Anatole Litvak, screenwriters Casey Robinson, and based on the novel by Rachel Field. Intermezzo starred Leslie Howard, Edna Best, Anne Todd, Anne Marie, Douglas Scott, Cecil Kellaway and Ingrid Bergman. Director was Gregory Ratoff, screenplay by George O'Neill, story by Gosta Stevens and Gustav Molander.